Good morning. Welcome back here with us at ECCMID TV Live, brought to you from Pavilion 1 here at the ECCMID Congress Center in Lisbon, Portugal. My name is Judith Cohen and I am hosting your ECCMID TV broadcast series. I'm very pleased and delighted to be able to introduce to you my next guest who is here with me in the studio on my couch, Professor Önder Ergönül, who is a professor from the Department of Infectious Diseases at Koç University and the School of Medicine in Istanbul, Turkey, but also very well known amongst ESCCMID members as part of the executive committee where he serves as the ESCCMID Communications and Publications Officer. A warm welcome to you, Önder. Thank you for joining us here in our studio.
Thank you very much.
Taking the time out of your ECCMID program. We would just love to pick your brain a little bit and talk a bit about, your role as Communications and Publications Officer, but also in a broader sense, because I believe communication has become increasingly big for infectious disease doctors, right?
Yeah, definitely. And especially during the pandemic, we understood that communication, science communication is very important, and many of us don't know about this actually. Normally, it was very conventionally, it was very straightforward. If there is any problem, the classical experts were making some explanations, and we were expecting that the people would like to listen to them.
Yeah.
But then, especially during pandemic, we have seen that there are lots of conflicting thoughts, conflicting approaches in any level. Between the governments, at the policy level, among the people, on people's minds, and among the experts as well. Experts are not agreeing on one topic. So therefore, we understand that science communication is very important and could be maybe the part of the curriculum in medical school by the time.
But I can imagine it's even more difficult or complex for an organization as ESCCMID to get a harmonization within the ways of communicating, because each country during the pandemic acted as their own island, with their own governmental regulations, their own views, their own scientists. How do you look at that?
Definitely, each country and each nation has their own way. But on the other hand, ESCCMID is a very important authority as a body, and then all national level experts or governmental bodies, policymakers, were looking at ESCCMID, what they are saying, what they are telling. So therefore, producing some approach and some ideas, some thoughts, and some, let's say, preventive measures, or making some decisions became even more critical, and expanding this, disseminating this information is also critical. So we can say, for instance, in Turkey or in Netherlands, the ESCCMID is telling in that way, because people think that there are very good experts, excellent experts in ESCCMID. There are lots of committees, study groups, and they all come together and work together hard, day and night, and then came up with a decision. And then they try to fit themselves to that decision in a way. Of course, this is a open-ended story. Always you have to work in that way. You have to communicate. You have to produce ideas, thoughts, approaches, preventive measures. You have to work also with WHO, ECDC, or other bodies. And ESCCMID has a role, of course, between those, because also this is not totally formal, official body. And the physicians, laboratory people, professionals feel closer to ESCCMID. Because they can also work here. It's like a civil society in a way. It's that kind of characteristics, and its productions, ESCCMID's productions, even more important. We understood that more important, convincing the people, convincing the professionals in each nationalities.
What do you think is the biggest learning that we took from the pandemic with regards to communication?
Yeah, I think the biggest learning is, first of all, we have to be careful. We have to have a clear production, scientific production. Before having that clear, precise scientific production, it is not good to communicate. You have to first crystal clear.
Keep the calm first.
Keep calm and calm. Instead of, for instance, making a rapid explanations. Just wait to get the crystal clear, precise explanation, and release this with a, in a cool way, in a cold way, because this is science. I mean, science needs to be more long-run issue instead of making a short-run thing.
Yeah.
So therefore, also try to be a delicate balance between the many things, but the most important thing, science. The second is the benefit of the people. So for the benefit of the people, you have to say the truth, you have to say the reality or the scientific facts. We should follow the path of the science. This is the first rule. And the second one, we have to sensitive to the problems of the people and make a delicate explanation for the benefit of the health or benefit of the health and the people. So in fact, these are also the essence of being physician. According to Hippocratic oath, let's say, we are all ready to serve for the benefit of the people.
Yeah.
And then now the right communication.
So it's a very public role also.
Yeah, that's a public responsibility. Normally, let's say the public people or some political bodies disseminate such information, but now we understood that ESCMID also has a great role, and this is also a part of this Hippocratic oath, or Hippocratic whatever, our responsibilities, let's say, coming from thousands of years of that profession. And we have to, after having clear ideas, we have to, explain the people, and this is one of our tasks. So we learned this much better, highlighted this.
And with regard to that, because this year's ECCMID has also focused a little bit more on social media and infectious disease doctors or researchers also participating in social media. We interviewed here in the studio an hour ago a couple of our ECCMID Twitter ambassadors, but there was also, of course, the open forum on the question, is Twitter the next ID textbook? How do you look at that as a communications officer? Is there danger in this way of communicating, or is this actually the best way to pick up on that new communicating role of ID doctors to reach a really large audience? What is your take on this?
I think this is related with some facts out of our presence. Let's say the world or the development of the humankind goes to that way, that direction. This is inevitable. I mean, people want to learn everything on one, minutes or in seconds. So they don't want to wait for, publication. They don't want to wait for, publishing a book. Books, for instance. Talking about the books. For instance, 10 years ago or maybe 20 years ago, textbooks were very important for us. Also being a textbook editor is still important. I don't want to say. I also have myself edited some books already, but now I prefer, instead of having book, I would like to have open access, accessible material. Then, if you think further steps, then the Twitter or social media. Some people don't have the patience to wait for the journal publication, etc. And then we are teasing each other. We are saying that Twitter became like PubMed, for instance. PubMed is our source or Google, whatever, to search for something. But now, if someone has something very important, and of course, if she believes in that, or thinks that it's good information, they just disseminate in social media and mainly Twitter.
As a communications officer, do you feel it is actually should we call it applied? No, is it obligatory for ID doctors to get out there on social media and inform the public? Is that their role? Is that their task? Should every ID doctor do this? At the moment, we are not that level that we have to use the social media. There are some people who never goes to social media. We cannot blame them at the moment. We cannot say that this is your task. Why don't you write? But could you see it going there? Is the role of the ID doctor increasing and with sort of applied to inform the public? I believe that it's a smart way. Definitely, if you do, our first responsibility is, of course,
producing scientific facts or serving the people. Secondly, educate our students and the people. But as the fourth one, maybe we can say, this is like a fourth the responsibility. Only some people are doing right now in a smart way. This is important. We should learn from this doing in a smart way.
Yeah.
So then if you can do in a smart way, the human mind is developing, improving, and we can do. I think in the future, that might be one of the important things. For instance, let's say, I'm just brainstorming. Maybe 5 years later, if there is a smart person in Twitter, he or she might be credited, like having a publication in a journal, something like this.
Yeah.
But also I have seen lots of bad examples of this communication as well, from any nation, from anywhere. I mean, from my country or others, and because we use all English and native languages, you can compare, you can see. This is good. I think we cannot say that we have to be away from social media. We have to learn how to deal with.
Yeah, how to take the best out of it.
Yeah, how to use it, because I found it beneficial in many aspects. I mean, social media already, it was shown that social media has a great power if you use in a good way. I mean, very useful, because people learn, about the fact. But the science should be have more. I wish the science would be more dominant. Let's say scientific facts. Also, I don't want to make the science as a sort of unreachable authority, like in Ivy Tower or something. It should be open. Science is something live. I mean, it should be liveful, that's changing every day, every moment in the future. It brings.
And it should form the basis also for the communications.
Exactly. It's a
so,
great dynamism.
ESCMID, of course, has its own task force, especially when we're looking at things like the pandemic. We have the ATOF, of course, for emerging, the task force specifically for emerging infections, who has one of its primary missions to inform all ESCMID members on the latest state-of-the-art news on emerging infections.
Just an example, for instance, there are unknown hepatitis right now, started in UK, in some other countries, etc. Usually the children. 75% of these, the etiology was detected or explained as adenovirus 41, but 25% is still unknown. So this is a challenge, for instance, right now. So we have to follow this challenge, for instance, right after the pandemic. Is it related to pandemic or not? There are lots of questions. This is so exciting. And this calls us. This is because there is challenge. So first, I think for the future, if you have curiosity, I can say this is with C, curiosity. And then if there is challenge, another C. And the third C is the courage. So we have to be courage enough to deal with that kind of challenges and learn, do the scientific studies, and then share, disseminate with our colleagues right here, like here. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. Yeah. And this is one of the mission of our lives. So this is our life.
I can imagine what you said earlier, that people really want to look up information now, not wait for the textbook. And especially on the field of emerging infections, time is of the essence, I can imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
So and we need the digital world and the media to...
I feel like the world is we were all saying globalization, etc. There are some negative aspects of that globalization maybe, but still getting global is a reality in a way. Although at the beginning of pandemic, we were dealing at the national level, I can say. We were all fighting at national level. But still, let's imagine if there is another pandemic, another emerging infection, if we can handle at global level, and because there is the diversity of the expertise, in Holland or in Germany or UK, and Europe has a great tradition in terms of dealing with this emerging infections. So if we can coordinate and create a synergy and disseminate the right information to the people, this will be great. So you can see the dynamism here in ECCMID. It was very
and just to make another sidestep, because as also publications officer, you're also very much involved in the CMI, the journal of ESCMID, but also maybe other journals. How are they adapting to these these changes in time, the changes in way of communicating, do you notice anything with the journals? Are they adapting to that, or can you comment on that?
Yeah, I think the Journal of the Society, CMI, Clinical Microbial Infection, adapted very well and received enormous submissions during the pandemic.
Okay.
And then the editorial board worked very well, and they managed, deal with these submissions. They worked very well, and we all congratulated the editor-in-chief, Leonard Leibovici, and also it increased the impact factor, and I believe the impact factor will
really?
increase.
Yeah.
Impact factor is not everything, but still tells something, because impact of the journal, that means how many people are citing your papers, etc.
Yeah.
So CMI became one of the best in the world as a journal in infectious diseases area. So also the society is trying to formulate having some other, the second journal, for instance. Our colleagues are working on that, and will explain soon, maybe in coming next months or year. So in order to encourage people submitting more and encouraging young people especially to write more, because always I can talk about the publication bias. We know the things that if they were reported, if they've been published. So we have to encourage the people to write about this. Mm-hmm. This is also part of their profession, our profession.
Yeah.
I mean,
so it's not that you've also seen the same trend towards the social media happening more. It's people are still actually submitting towards physical publication.
Sure, of course, because the problem with social media, it is instant. It's like instant coffee.
Yeah, it disappears also. Well, it doesn't really disappear.
Yeah, it may disappear, and like the taste of the instant coffee, you see. I mean, therefore, it is important.
And there's no peer review on the social.
Yeah, there is no peer review yet.
So quality-wise, there's also something.
Yeah, and then the aroma of that coffee, of course, it lasts more and more important. After all let's say the pandemic, we will be reading back again these papers and trying to have the most sustained ones. The Twitters or the social media is flying out. That's the problem with the social media right now. But the social media is trying to appetizer for the better publication, let's say, a journal paper, let's say.
Because the journals, I think they created their own digital channels as well, right?
Yeah.
And more publications and...
More. It's getting more open access publications. Yeah. And also they are using more infographics kind of things.
Okay.
Some videos, podcasts, etc. This is also what journals do right now. And
it's been a busy couple of years for the infectious disease and doctors and the clinical microbiology researchers, not only just during the pandemic, but also even in the communications and publication area.
Yeah. I think for the pandemic, for instance, our life was like serving to the people, of course, to our patients. This was the priority. But secondly, we have to read the publications. Thirdly, do the scientific research. For instance, see the effectiveness of the vaccines. We have lots of different vaccine types, whether the BioNTech was effective than the Sinovac, Coronavac, or others, etc., that kind of things. And then trying to get a conclusion out of that. And then the media members were asking some questions, also answering them and calling them. And so there are here 4 or 5 multitasking. So we all have these multitasking before, but these were scattered to the time, and it was much looser in the timeline, let's say. But we had to do everything in a very squeezed, very short time.
Are you hopeful for the future to have a little more rest, or with the upcoming hepatitis, are you I'm thinking hopeful. We have more work cut out for us?
Yeah, after having the energy of the searching in the pandemic, we learned many things also in science. I'm sure we will be finding out the etiology much sooner now, much sooner. The time is getting shorter again. Time is getting. I mean, this is the spirit of today. That the time is always getting shorter. And getting more concentrated, let's say, in a capsule way. So also here, everything is getting shorter. and getting faster.
But time management is probably better.
Yeah, exactly,
Cool.
exactly,
Well, that's
exactly.
excellent.
And then, for instance, for the infectious diseases specialists of the future, they should learn how to do scientific research, how to interpret the results, how to disseminate, how to talk about this.
Yeah.
Then it became a very exciting area. And we have to cope with this, of course. We have to cope with this, and we have to we should feel like we are opening a new chapter after pandemic. It's exciting for me. I mean, because now we are
Is
going
it an
to...
exciting new chapter?
Yeah, it will be
Okay.
exciting. And because we are going to buy a new notebook, let's say, starting the notebook from the beginning.
Yeah.
Just like right after
A
pandemic.
nice fresh notebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with that positive ending, I think we need to wrap up our time today. Thank you so much for coming in and just giving a little more insight in the whole changing world and arena of communication and also publication here. Thank you,
Thank you very
Önder.
much. Thank you.
Thank you all for watching. We will be back at the clock of 11 when we will be inviting Professor Taconelli, who was one of this year's ECCMID keynote speakers, and we will be talking a little bit more about her topic that she lectured on as in her keynote session, Advances in Clinical Antibacterial Resistance Research. So that will be very interesting. Please tune in at 11 and we will see you then.